Good morning. There. Good morning. I welcome you to our Wednesday morning mindfulness practice. It's 8:30. It's bright and sunny where we are. It's just a lovely, lovely day outside. So just very thankful for the weather of this summer, which I love being warm and hot. So that's really good. Just want to thank you all for coming and joining me here and participating in this mindfulness moment. And today I want to talk about patterns in being aware of our patterns that we develop over our lifetime. There are many, just starting with, there's many benefits of being mindful, sorry, and intentionally practicing mindfulness. It improves our physical, our mental, our emotional well-being. Relaxation is a wonderful part. It helps us relax our minds, relax our bodies. Just getting in tune with that is just such a really nice thing about mindfulness. And there's just so many health benefits to being mindful and just slowing ourselves down. Intentionally practicing mindfulness improves our ability to attune to our body sensations and our emotions. And that's what July is about for this on this Facebook page, is just being attuning to our bodies and our emotions. And that can be so helpful. When we attune to our body sensations, we're able to relieve some of that tension that we may be feeling in certain parts of our body. Our body often responds with just certain parts of our body feel that tension more than others. And when we're aware of that, we can help deal with that. And it feels so good when you all say, oh, my shoulders are so tense. And then I just am mindful of that and can help them relax. And it just feels so good. It creates space for us to be aware of other things in our lives as well. And the other thing is, it also creates a moment of awe and wonder at how our bodies work. Our bodies are amazing things. Our emotions are amazing things. They're not to be feared. They're just to be enjoyed, to allow them to be there and to nurture them and to regulate them. So our body sensations can also point us towards noticing our emotional responses. And when we're intentional about practicing that, we can start to associate the two together. So every time I feel this emotion, my body responds in a certain way. And by becoming aware of that through our mindful moments that we take throughout the day, that really helps us to tune into what's actually going on in that present moment. There have been times that I got to the point where all of a sudden I realized that my stomach is upset. And as I'm looking and trying to figure out what's going on, I recognize that I have been stuffing down some really, high, intense emotions and not acknowledging them at all. Emotions like anger and fear. And I just stuff the emotion down, which then causes that body response. And so the pattern happens. And over time, I begin to realize that my stomach is my sensitive area. And that is the part that I need to attune to recognize perhaps those emotions that I may be experiencing. So we're talking about patterns a little bit today, and just that is a pattern that we can all become aware of through being mindful and intentionally taking those moments to figure out what the pattern is. So for other people, you may hold tension, a lot of tension in your shoulders or perhaps in your jaw, wherever that may be, and it can be a signal to you that you're experiencing emotion that you perhaps need to deal with. And then as we begin to notice patterns in our emotions, that we can also then maybe recognize triggers. And triggers help to just the triggers are just things in our everyday life that just may that we respond to in kind of a patterned way because of things from our past. So they're things from our childhood, perhaps, or our recent events, or whatever they are, that just our brain makes that connection between a situation, and it creates this patterned response in us. And by being intentionally mindful, we can help with those. We can nurture those. We can help soften those responses. We can help deal with those responses. But the first step is definitely recognizing them, being mindful and recognizing our patterns in our thinking. We often have negative patterns of thought and those thinking loops that we get into that just are so harmful to us. And the unfortunate part is that often when we respond out of from a place of being triggered by something, it can be very harmful to our own self, but harmful to our relationships as well, because we just don't see some of those patterns. But as we are mindful of them and we begin to recognize those patterned responses that we develop over life, that can help improve our relationships because we respond differently, which then changes the outcome, changes how we respond to the outside uh, people in our life, the outside situations, and that kind of thing. Dan Siegel and Mary Hartzell, in their book called Parenting from the Inside Out. It's a really great read if you're interested in doing a little more research on attachment and understanding. And my supervisor Lori often says that it should that the parenting from the outside inside out, it shouldn't, it's not just for parents, it's for all of us. And I personally, as I was reading it, got so much, I learned so much about myself by reading through this book, reading on attachment, reading on the way my brain works. And so it's a really great read. I just wanted to reference that because they talk about at the beginning two types of memory that we have in our life, like in our brain. Implicit memory is present from birth. And so it's the part that of us that kind of develops these unconscious memories of situations in our life. So they include it such, for example, they include mental models or generalizations of repeated experiences. So an example of that would be if as an infant we if an infant feels consoled and loved and cared for as they're in that their wee infant stage, they can generalize those experiences to their adulthood in their adult life, and they'll develop a sense of well-being and security. If an infant does not have that experience, they'll develop a different type of model in their life, which then creates patterns of thinking, patterns of emotional responses, and patterns in our body sensations. So we can see these implicit memories that we've developed through biases that we may have, or just patterns, the way we think, the way we feel, and just the way we react to other people. So patterns that we develop are based from implicit memories, even as far back as when we're just brand newborn. Explicit memories, that's Dan Siegel and Mary Hartzell talk about explicit memories, and they begin to develop after the age of 1 year old. And that part of our brain that holds those explicit memories is the hippocampus, and it starts to develop after you're one. And they require more conscious attention to develop these memories. So they're more factual based, they're more autobiographical in nature. So events and people, places, perhaps things, they're conscious awareness of those things in our life. And those can also be triggers depending on the situation, and they just also develop those patterned responses. And why memory, the implicit and explicit memory is important is that as we begin to recognize patterns that we have developed as adults, our pattern responses, we are able to then look back through our life and figure out where they came from. It could be a conscious memory, it could be an unconscious memory, it could be just something that we need to explore. And both types of memories can create those triggers and those pattern responses for us. And definitely some of them are harder to recognize in ourselves. And some of them are so rooted back into our childhood that we just think that they're part of who we are. Um, but when we start to recognize those negative patterns that we have in our thinking and in our emotions and in our even our behavior, um, that may be causing harm to ourselves, may be causing harm to our relationships that we're trying to develop, that we need to take time to kind of work on them, to work through them. And I see that as part of our journey to healing, journey to wellness in ourselves. Just that journey is going to look different for everyone. Their triggers will look different for everyone because we all have different experiences. And so, how we work through those will also be unique to you. And that is just part of what we're wanting to help with. That journey of towards wellness can look like talking to a friend about it. It can be doing some self-reflection. It can be doing going to counseling. Um, it can be going to finding turning to your faith. There's so many different ways that we can deal with those pattern of responses. But I think today it's just important to recognize and to attune to the importance of being mindful and recognizing those areas of our life that we may need to have some healing for, that we need to nurture ourselves. And it always involves being curious, not judgmental of ourselves for our patterns, not those negative messages we send ourselves are so harmful. So don't allow yourself to go there. Just be curious about the patterns that you may notice, and be patient. Healing takes time. Our journey towards wellness is not something that happens overnight. It is something that we can practice, we can be intentional about, and it just, I guess we will invite you to spend the next few minutes with me in a meditation where we're going to do that. We're going to spend time just being curious about what we notice and being patient with ourselves and just allowing ourselves to experience what we're experiencing without judgment, and then nurturing that at the end. What can we do that we may need to attend to right now? So I invite you to take a moment and just, if it feels comfortable to close your eyes, you may do that. And just relax into your chair. And we begin by noticing our breath and being mindful of how that feels as it enters our body and exits our body. Taking a couple of deep breaths where you inhale and you feel your lungs expanding, feel the rib cage moving to allow the air into your body. Holding it for a second or two and then releasing your air. Noticing in your body where you feel that sensation the most. And just focusing on that for just a moment. And as you're enjoying this quiet moment, just become aware of the body sensations you're experiencing. Is there any tension in your body anywhere that you can attune to? I would just invite you to set your intention for the day, to be mindful, to be aware of your body sensations, to notice any patterns that you may have. Notice any areas of your body that may be big signals for you, that when you need to tune to what's going on around you. And just setting your attention to be thankful that your body is a cue for you, that you can use your body sensations to remind you to be mindful of what's going on. Now I invite you to notice your emotions that you're feeling in this moment. Perhaps identify the emotion that you're experiencing. Perhaps notice in your body where you're holding that emotion. What does it feel like? Does it feel like warmth in your body? Does it feel like tension in your body? Just attuning to that, perhaps noticing a pattern. And then being aware of what has triggered that emotion, perhaps. And if it's a positive emotion, being aware of what triggered that positive emotion, then you are able to set your intention of doing more of that. And in this last moment, just notice any repetitive thoughts that you maybe have floating in your body that are competing for attention, and be mindful of them. Allow them to be there without judgment. Be aware of any pattern thinking that you may have in this moment. And then invite yourself back to becoming aware of your breath, aware of this moment. And I would invite you to just place your hand on your chest, where your heart, nearby your heart, and just to seal these last few moments of being mindful, and offer yourself some compassion, some empathy, perhaps some understanding, and patience. When you're ready, you feel free to open your eyes and join me back on the video. Thank you for joining me today. And as we're all on our journey towards wellness and health and healing, just if you need any support, feel free to reach out to ATTACH. The people there that are very trained in helping and in supporting people and helping people on their journey to wellness and health. And other than that, I hope you have a good day, and just aware of you experience the joy of your body, and of how it can cue you to noticing what else is going on. And I'm so very grateful that our bodies work the way they do. And I hope you have a good day and enjoy the sunshine. Bye bye. Ugh.